Hi there, Killer Be Killed. Welcome to another video. This time I'm doing something a little bit different than the normal movie review, movie recommendation sort of format. The other day I was thinking about a certain concept and I just thought it would be interesting to discuss it on this channel and just sort of dive in, give my perspective and my opinions on it, and here's some of your guys' feedback and what you think about it. And it's a concept that holds significance in the current artistic climate. Of course, the concept that I'm talking about is ambition in film. Now, there's always been ambitious artists and there's always been ambition in art, but I feel like there's more of a push to sort of create this originality in both film and just art in general nowadays. Everyone's trying to be original, everyone's trying to stand out in the crowd. There's so much going on, it's hard to not only separate yourself from others, but also create quality within that separation. And what makes this even harder is that it's not just you trying to separate from the crowd, it's the entire crowd trying to separate from each other. Anyways, I'm rambling, you get the idea of ambition and why it's a pertinent, I suppose, topic in nowadays. But yeah, anyways, let's just get into it. So I guess my first opening question, if you can call it, regarding ambition, and specifically ambition in film, would be, is ambition good in and of itself? Is it good to be ambitious? And my answer would be not necessarily, at least not in and of itself. Ambition is really a state of mind. It's a concept, it's an idea, it's almost like a platform or a genre. Like, I love horror movies, but I wouldn't say that horror is in and of itself good. There's a lot of good horror and there's a lot of bad horror. This kind of reflects in ambition. I like ambitious movies, but are ambitious movies good? It really depends on the movie. And ambition really thrives when it does come naturally to a project, whether it be film, music, art, whatever. Forced ambition, usually 9 times out of 10, doesn't come off well and it shows on the screen. As I mentioned earlier, everyone's trying to be different as far as creative types and just creative work in general. I know I'm creating this video specifically on film, but this really relates to all different kinds of art forms. And so the line between trying to be ambitious and letting ambition come naturally kind of becomes blurred in this sort of atmosphere. Is it bad to try and be ambitious and have an ambitious concept form? No, if it's actually formed. And that's the thing. When I mean trying to be ambitious and letting ambition come naturally, what I mean by that is orchestrating and organizing a concept built around this one singular identity that is different from most of what is out there. Whereas on the other side of things, what you don't want to do is force an ambitious concept that really is less ambitious and is more convoluted. It's kind of like walking that gray line between intellectual art and pseudo-intellectualism. And of course, I also believe it depends on the person. For example, just because I see something as very convoluted and messy, it doesn't necessarily mean that someone else is going to see it that way. Like, my personal philosophy with watching a movie and determining whether the ambition in it was properly executed or clear enough to the audience to where it actually achieves its goal of portraying its concept, idea, symbolism, ideology, whatever to the audience. I believe it's a crucial aspect that ambition, whatever it may be, is able to be deciphered by the audience without any sort of outside help. This means no reading of the synopsis, no sort of backhand knowledge about some concept, whether it be religion, science, symbolism in literature, whatever. A good example for this would be Donnie Darko. And how to really understand the movie, you had to read the book, the fictional book that's attached to the movie that you can only get by ordering the DVD. It's like a special bonus features sort of thing. As much as I liked Donnie Darko, the ambition falls a little flat because though there is decipherable content within it, it's not truly 100% decipherable without that book to kind of work as a guide to, guide you in the direction of what the movie is pointing you towards. Or rather, should I say, what the movie's not pointing you towards. But that's just my personal philosophy. I just think that you shouldn't be a master in a certain subject or have read a review or something before going into a film to really understand its entire premise. I feel like, that kind of breaks the entire idea of it being a movie. At that point, it just kind of turns into an ARG. Anyways, whatever. Let's move on. So my next question regarding this concept is kind of connected to the first question a little bit, and that's, should ambition be praised? And again, not necessarily praised, but it should be recognized. And to go back to my analogy of me liking horror movies, I'm not going to praise a movie just because it's horror, but I am going to recognize that it's horror. I feel like it's not fair to just kind of throw the ambition out of it. It's actually quite frankly irresponsible. But at the same time, just because something's ambitious, just because something is different or tries to be different, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a positive. One of the most frustrating aspects of art is potential that wasn't properly exploited. However, the potential is still there, and it should be recognized. So my third question regarding this topic would be, should creators strive to be more ambitious when constructing their art? And again, for the third time, not necessarily. Uniqueness is crucial in the realm of film and art as a whole, but not everything has to be unique. There are tons of good meat and potatoes movies out there. For example, Hush, Almost Mercy, Laid to Rest, etc. However, again, this is where there's that kind of blurred line. Those movies aren't truly meat and potatoes. What I mean by that is they aren't just copies of copies of copies of copies. No, I wouldn't qualify them as ambitious, but it also felt like I was watching that movie when I was watching that movie. What I mean by this is those specific movies had an identity, or at least something that made them them. My best example for the three movies that I mentioned would probably be Hush. It's your standard home invasion, horror, thriller type of movie, but the certain twist, I guess, is that the main character is deaf and she lives practically alone in the woods. Really, the only person nearby is her neighbor, and she lives like 2 miles away. Aside from that, it's a pretty well executed, well done home invasion horror. But there's still that thing, that concept, that aspect that does make it at least a little bit different. So just like how there's that blurred line between trying to be ambitious and letting ambition come to you naturally, there's also kind of that blurred line between what's good meat and potatoes and what's just a copy. But either way, getting back to the main point, pulling off a unique concept can skyrocket your film's quality, but there are many instances where the concept carries the film instead of the entire film carrying itself. And in that scenario, I would rather watch a well-executed meat and potatoes movie. Basically, what I mean for this is, assuming a movie is ambitious, this question kind of boils down to, does your movie stand for itself, or does your concept stand for your movie? Basically, is your movie gimmicky? My next question, is there such a thing as being too ambitious? No, I don't think so. Even though I was mentioning things like concepts becoming too convoluted, it's not really the ambition or the concept itself, generally speaking, that falls flat. Usually it's the writing outside of it that causes this. Granted, it might be way more difficult to write an extremely ambitious concept into fruition and writing it so that it's not convoluted, but it's still the writing outside of the concept that either allows it to succeed or that fails it. Two extremely ambitious movies off the top of my head, Eraserhead by David Lynch and Bottom of the World. Bottom of the World being a movie that I reviewed earlier on this channel, link in the description. But yeah, I consider both those movies to be quite ambitious. One succeeds and one falls flat. It's not the ambition of the concept that ruined one movie or allowed another to succeed, it's the writing outside of it that basically stuck the landing on one and caused the other to do a full faceplant. So yeah, is there such a thing as being too ambitious? No, but I also think that there's a certain element of knowing your limits. Basically, what I mean by this is step outside your concept and view it as you have no idea about anything about it. Just as if you're your audience and you have no information about how you came to that concept or how the concept connects. Does it seem convoluted? Does it seem confusing? If the answer is yes, it's too confusing, then try rewriting it. Try the concept in a different sort of way. Try it with maybe a little less symbolism, with a little bit more emphasis on connecting characteristics. And if you still can't write it into fruition, abandon it. Get something a little bit simpler. Basically, going back to what I said earlier, don't force a concept. Whoops, sorry, I thought I had another question. That was the last question regarding this concept. So yeah, anyways, in conclusion, ambition is an important state of mind, but it's one that has to come naturally. If you have a unique and mostly original concept, great. But if you don't try to force creativity in a concept that isn't there, because the movie will either come off as confusing or just plain awkward. Not to mention, as far as originality goes, nothing is really entirely original. But I'm not going to go all philosophical into that. You get what I mean when I'm talking about originality and ambition. It's not a definitive state to exist in, but rather it's that separation from the herd, quote unquote. Sorry, I couldn't think of a better way to put that. But anyways, yeah, I thought this would be something interesting to cover. I'd love to talk about some more concepts in the future, similar to this, maybe a little bit different than this. Whatever, yada yada yada. My point is maybe I'll do another video like this again sometime. Regardless, I'd also like to hear what you think about ambition in film, ambition in art. Is it good? Is it bad? Should it be praised? Should it even be recognized? Is it really all that prevalent in today's film culture? Just to cut away from that, because as we know, there's certainly a lot of cookie cutter copy of a copy horror movies in specific being shot out by Hollywood year in and year out. But then of course, like I said, in the I don't know what you would call it, underground film community, I think that there is a little bit more of a push to separate oneself and to be ambitious. But then again, like I said, I mean, David Lynch isn't exactly new. There's always been artsy art in the past. Anyways, whatever. I'm gonna keep rambling if I keep talking. So yeah, anyways, leave me your ideas, your perspective, your position on the matter in the comments. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please leave a like. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you in the next video. Whether it be a review, recommendation, discussion, another quick reviews, whatever. I'm talking more again. Thank you. Thanks for watching.